All right, if you've seen some of my content and you've heard me talk about some of my own development and some of the things that have shifted my life, my thought process so much, you've probably heard me refer to a thing called the stack or stacking. Stacking is this piece of helping you reframe your mindset and your thought process. And it boils down to a piece of what are you actually focused on? And how is the focus of what you're looking at, how is it actually producing results in your life? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about that and how it actually correlates and connects with where you are right now inside of a toxic environment, trying to figure out what do I actually do? How do I actually figure this out to move forward? If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness of narcissistic abuse. Now, I'm a recovery coach, like someone who's actually helping you recover from the toxic abuse that you've dealt with for such a long period of time. Getting to a place where you understand how to find closure, how to get clarity, how to have certainty, and how to develop your confidence back, rediscover who you are, and actually set up a direction that's different than what you've currently been stuck in. If I can help you with this, go to rawmotivations.com. Would love to be able to help talk to you and see where you're at. Help show you, hey, this is how we can actually walk you through the roadmap that we've walked multiple people through to help heal and redefine who they are. When we talk about this piece of your focus, I want you to think about this piece of the word focus first off. The word focus, as we look at it, tends to be this idea of when you think of a lens or when you think of glasses, you think of, hey, if I can see something or not see something, it can be in or out of focus, right? It shows you where your attention's at. It shows you, hey, this is something I can actually see. This is something I can't see. Focus oftentimes comes in terms with the word clarity at the same time. Because if you can't see something clearly, it's hard to know what it is. If I take out my contacts, because I'm very nearsighted, it's hard for me to be able to see long distances. Like it's hard for me to be able to see things that are far away and it just kind of look like these blobs. And I don't really know what it is until I get closer. When I get closer, then it comes into focus. It gets to a place where I can actually see it and understand it and be like, oh, that's what this is. So inside of this, what we're talking about is what is your focus on a day-to-day basis? It is hard to have your focus on something that could be positive when you're in such a toxic and such a negative environment. The guy that you're with has been degrading you, putting you down, devaluing you, making you feel awful. And all of these things start to get into your mindset and your thought process, making you think, maybe it is me. Maybe it is my fault. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe what I'm doing and how I'm responding, maybe this is making him act this way. Maybe this is causing him to cheat. All of these things spiral up in your mind and leave you just feeling like you're out of control. Like nothing you do is actually helping you actually move forward. Instead, a lot of times people describe it as just feeling stuck, confused, lost, alone, not having a guidance and having this brain fog of what do I actually do? How do I actually move forward? Well, when we talk about this, the reason why the majority of people cannot move forward and the reason why the majority of people don't know how to move forward is because they have all this fog in their life. You've already heard it and you've already seen it in your own life. It's like where everything gets a little bit hazy and foggy, just like, what do I do? I don't even know how to function. Like what needs to happen? And you find yourself in this survival mode, just trying to make it work day in, day out. This survival mode impacts you. It impacts the kids. It impacts everybody that's in your life because people start to realize and see that you're just operating and functioning. You might have it all together on the outside, but inside you're falling apart. Inside, you're like, I don't even know how I'm surviving one day to another because I can't even figure out what's going on. And it's all these questions and confusion that leaves you stuck. All right, so the reason why you're stuck is because we have this fog, and this fog comes from the toxic relationship and the confusion that happens. The confusion all produces this lack of clarity, which doesn't let you have a positive focus, doesn't let you see clearly of what's happening. So part of what I do is helping people actually see clearly. If I can help you see clearly about how the toxic guy showed up in your life, how he treated you, how he manipulated you, and why, all of a sudden you start to have closure and clarity to be able to move forward for you. But if you don't have some type of clarity about how to work through a situation, how to deal with the triggers and process the emotions, you end up staying stuck. And everything seems a little bit hazy, a little bit foggy, and a little bit out of focus. So why do I keep coming back to the word focus? Focus is one of the biggest things that can pivot the trajectory of your life. Consider for a moment, when I focus on one thing, I will get a certain result. When I focus on another thing, I will get a certain result. Now, let's bring this into a relationship. Let's bring this into a conversation. Let's bring this into a fight. If I focus on being right, I will hurt my wife and I will hurt the relationship. If that is my main focus, I will be right, then everything is on the table. whatever I have to do to manipulate, to control, to gaslight, to lie, to cheat, whatever I need to do, I will be right, then that means my focus on being right means everything else starts falling apart. The relationship that I claim to want, the relationship that I claim to have, the lifestyle, the thought process, all the other things start to disintegrate simply because I'm like, this is my focus. I want to be right at all costs. So when I'm thinking that, or when I'm saying that, what's happening is everything else is disintegrating. Now imagine I took a same scenario of me having a conflict with my wife. And instead of me walking into the conflict and saying, I will be right, I walk into the conflict and say, I want to connect. That is a very different focus, very different frame that I'm walking into. Instead of making sure I prove my point at all costs, instead I'm trying to be able to hear and understand her. I'm trying to be able to hold space to understand, what are you actually thinking? What are you actually feeling? That is a whole different focus than the original one. Now, the reason why I bring this up, because it's important for you to understand your focus matters. Because the focus that you have, the focal intentional point, the things that you're thinking on a day-to-day basis matters. And it shifts and it gives you results. When I have the focus of, I will be right at all costs, it will give me results. And I have to look and evaluate, do I like those results? The result is, I was right, no one else is questioning that, and I also don't have a relationship. Do I want that result? Yes or no? Good result, bad result? What is that for me? Do you see the difference? But then we bring the focus piece of, hey, I want connection, and the end result is I want to actually have a committed, connected relationship. Well, that brings that result. But if I want that result in the first scenario, I'm not going to get it because I'm more concerned about me and what I want. All right, how does this actually come back and how does this actually apply to you? When you're inside a toxic relationship, your focus matters because your original focus is typically going to be all on him. So as a result, the results you're going to get is going to be all about him. The toxicity, the lies, the cheating, the abuse, that's all just going to keep compiling up because the focus is all on him. When you have this focus that's so much geared towards the narcissist, the toxic guy that's in your life that's treating you like you're shit, like he's treating like you're the worst thing ever. When that becomes your focal point, that becomes what the results end up being. So the problem is when you have this focus on him and he starts telling you what to believe and what to think and what to feel, your focus starts to shift not just to him, but it starts to shift to you in a negative way. And it starts to shift to you in a negative way where you start degrading and devaluing and putting yourself down, making yourself think, well, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not worthy. Like, I can't do anything right. And all that becomes your focus, which produces results. Now, the reason why I say this is because we talk so heavily about the focus, the story, the lie, what you're telling yourself, because that matters to such a wonderful depth that's most amazing. It matters because what you think becomes what you are. How you start to think and process things internally, mentally, and emotionally shifts your outward experience, shifts your world. When we start to talk about reframing or rewiring the story that you believe, we're trying to have an internal shift to produce an outward transformation. Because if we don't do an internal shift of your focus, you stay stuck in the confusion and lost in the relationship. But when that internal shift happens and you start to have clarity and confidence about you and about the situation, you're like, wait a second, I'm degrading myself being with this guy. I'm lowering my standards being with this asshole. And you actually start to leave and make sure that you grow and develop your focus shifts to produce different results. The problem is you've been in a relationship for such a long period of time with a toxic guy, you've gotten used to results. And so you think that that's all you can get. But at the end of the day, your results are all geared towards the focal point that you have. The focus, the intention, the thoughts, the things that you're looking at on a day-to-day basis. So I want you to consider today, what's your focus today? Is your focus on him, making him happy, making sure that you don't do the wrong thing so that he is happy? Do you have to focus on managing his emotions, kind of walking on eggshells to make sure that you don't piss him off and then you have to pay for it? What does that actually look like with your focus? You might have a focus that's telling you a story. It's not that big of a deal. He hasn't really hit me yet, so it's not really classified as abuse. He's just stressed. He's going through a hard time. This will pass. He'll eventually get back to the guy that I first fell in love with. He'll eventually go back to that guy who had so much potential, had so much love and care. And you start to focus on something that's producing the same exact result that it always has. This happens when you have cycles. When you go back and forth with the same guy or back and forth with the same type of person that's still narcissistic. Why? It's because the focus hasn't changed. The focus becomes comfortable. I am comfortable in the toxic environment. So therefore, you get with someone else who is still toxic. Might look different, might seem different, but still toxic simply because you haven't shifted your focus internally of how to be able to attract and come towards a positive experience. Now, for some of you watching this, you're probably like, yeah, this is ridiculous. I hate this. And some of you are probably going to be like, oh, it sounds like he's trying to blame me. I'm not. I'm trying to say you're actually in charge now. Like with this awareness, you can actually start to be in control of your own destiny. You can start to write your own story. You can actually start to move forward in a healing way. You could look at it and be like, sounds like he's shaming me. No, I'm trying to empower you, to have you understand that your focus will give you different results. So if you don't like the results that you have in your life right now, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on him? Are you focusing on the confusion, on the cheating, the betrayal? Or are you focusing on you, your growth, your development, your transformation? Because when you focus on that, you get different results. The focus that you have in your life matters because it produces a result. And you have to evaluate that result in your life. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Does it work for you? Does it not work for you? And make decisions from there. What are you focusing on now today?